Hi, my name is Keri Barnum, and we are here for Free Advice Fridays, the hour every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern, where we come together to answer your book marketing questions, your publishing questions, and in general, just learn from each other in the writing industry and in the publishing industry. We've got some questions today that came in by email, which you can always send in questions by email if you're not able to make it on Fridays for the live webinar, or if you just don't want to forget. So if you ever have questions, email them into questions with an S at freeadvicefridays.com, and we will get those, and we try our best to answer those every Friday. So let's start with one of those questions because it's a good question that I've seen a couple times lately. And the question is, when picking a cover artist, some of them are really expensive. They run the gamut anywhere from, let's say $200 to $2,000. So there's definitely a wide range of expense for your cover artist. And the question is, if the person is an upscale cover designer who has worked on some big authors and some big books, does that increase the credibility of your book? Yeah, Terry's saying some charge even $2,800 or more. Absolutely. I mean, I saw one that was $5,000. So you really have to be hoping to make your money back, or at least, yeah, that's a big investment. So let's talk about it. There is something to be said that quality artists will expect to be paid for their expertise. You cannot go and expect a fully illustrated cover, which is hand-drawn to your specifications, for $100. It just doesn't happen, because people who have honed their skills, who are going to take the time to have your specific vision come to life, will want to be paid for their time and for their skill, as they should be. However, there are some covers that are made either from photos or digital overlay, and those tend to be less expensive because rather than a piece of art that is being illustrated and drawn for you, they are using computer programming to kind of use graphic art to put together a cover. It's still a skill. It's just a skill that tends to take a little less time. It's just a little less fussy. So both can make great covers, and you will see both types of covers in traditional houses and in publishing. One's not better than the other. It totally depends on the book. For instance, I wouldn't expect a fully illustrated cover for, let's say, a popular thriller. Most of those really draw heavily on photos. So it just depends on your genre. It depends on what your book's about and kind of the feel of your book for if you want to go with illustration or a photo cover. So first there, and then second, it depends on how in-depth your illustration is. Do you have a children's book and you've got a single illustration that you also have in the book? That's going to be a little bit different. But back to the question of if it's worth it. My question to you would be, how often do you take a cover, go find out the artist, and say, oh, wow, they also worked with Lee Child. This must be a really good book. It doesn't. So the name of the artist, the works that artist has worked on is not really going to be a selling point for your book. However, having a great cover is important. And if that designer has the design aspect that you want, if it's exactly what you've been looking for and you want to invest that money into it, then that's your decision. I will say that having a good cover it doesn't guarantee sales, but it pushes sales. Yeah, I'm seeing Bob say the same thing. And it's true, because the cover of your book is the first impression of your book. And if your cover is kind of, let's be honest, if it looks like I put your cover together, I don't have much artistic skills. Those of you who know me know I just don't have that. So if your cover looks like I put it together on Canva, it's probably not going to get a lot of interest. It's not going to get people over to your sales page or people picking up the book on the shelves because it's just not that compelling. Yeah. Stick figures never turn out well for me. It's really sad. My kids are better artists than me. Not hard, but they're actually good artists. So the quality of your cover is something I always tell people not to skimp on. Your cover is one of the few things that I would say, even as a self-published author, get an artist, a cover artist to do it. And it's important to know the difference between an artist and a cover artist, because if I ask a fabulous painter I know to do some art for me and then expect them to put the text on and create a cover for me, what will probably happen, and we see this all the time, what happens is that artist is so tied to their art that they don't allow the book cover to do what it's supposed to do, which is to promote your title. So yes, we need great art, but we also need a cover designer who's got an eye for how to make your title stand out and how to make your name stand out, who knows the industry, who knows that when you're working on thrillers, you know it's huge, not so much the title, it's the name on the title. You ever see those thrillers that have the name super big and then the title's kind of smaller? That's the trend for mystery and suspense. It's someone who knows that when you're working with romance, that it's really more the art that stands out over the title. But the font of a romance title on a book is super important. So it's these types of things that matter. So it's not necessarily just finding a great artist. I know lots of great artists who, one of my friends that I have paintings from was actually featured at the Louvre, and he's an amazing artist. I would never ask him to make a book cover because it's not what he does and it's not what he excels at. And so I think it's important when we're thinking about covers that we do go to a cover designer who's skilled in this area. But as far as cost, look at their portfolio, look at what they've done and see what they've done in your genre and see if it's a good fit. And as far as budget, you don't have to spend thousands and thousands of dollars to get a good cover. I've gotten great covers for $500. But that's an investment worth making, because you can't make your money back on publishing or make a career out of writing if you can't even get people to pick up or click on your book because your cover's not compelling out there in the industry. As far as the name goes, again, it's not like, why do name brands matter? Well, name brands matter because they're plastered all over. If I've got a purse that's got C's all over it, it's a Coach, and that's why it matters. Not any other reason. If I wasn't broadcasting it, you wouldn't know. And when we're looking at cover design, again, how many times have you gone, oh, Lee Child has a cover design by Donnie, so I'm going to go buy that book? You don't. And how many times do you see a great cover and go digging around to find out who the artist is? You don't. So I wouldn't go strictly on the name. Make sure that you are really looking at the product and let that drive your decisions more than simply a name. I hope that answers it. I know it's still very subjective. And Randy's saying he's got a great guy who does covers. Randy, maybe I will start, I will start in our Free Advice Friday Facebook group. I will start a thread of cover designers, and we can all drop in our favorite cover designers. I know that Bob Eckstein does some work on covers, and Randy's got a guy. I have someone that I love, a couple people actually. So I will start a thread right in the Facebook group, and we can all drop their links. We can promo them, and I think that's great. Tara's saying they do their own, but let's also preface by saying that Tara, they are professionals. She has a team of professionals. And then I know Linda's got a guy that she loves. George does great work. So we will get that up today in the Facebook group. All right. What do you do when you see a rogue site selling your book as an ebook? I opened it up and it tried to hack my computer. There you go, Diane. That's what it is. They do not actually have your ebook in most cases. What it is it is a hacker site. And what they do is they hack authors most of the time, not people trying to buy your book. Sometimes if it's really popular title, but most of the time they get authors who think my book is being hacked. They are selling my book to click on it, and then they put a virus on your computer. So I would not do that. You can do a cease and desist letter, but honestly, most of these things are in different countries. And unless you're really going to follow up with a lawyer, it's kind of one of those things. Don't worry about it too much. These hacker sites do go up. They're taken down all the time. And just know that it's clickbait mostly for authors. Now, if this was a best-selling title, if this was a huge title, let's say if it was Harry Potter, then they're trying to get, other people. But most of the time, they actually target the authors and they're putting viruses on your computer. So don't click. Don't be too upset by it. It happens quite often. I get that question a lot. Yeah, how do you find out who the cover artist of a book is if it isn't listed in the book? Sometimes you can't. Cover artist, you can go to the publisher's website. You can look inside the book. You can... In some cases, you just kind of look at different designers and you look, but it's not always listed, and it doesn't have to be listed in some agreements. So with big cover designers, it tends to be in their agreement that they must be listed for credit inside the book. But a lot of cover artists don't do that. And so you can ask the author, but whether or not they tell you is really up to you. I think most of us, when we have a great cover designer, we want to share their name. We want to lift them up and help get them more work. However, I guess if you don't want your cover artist to be too busy for you, you could be a little selfish. So it just kind of happens. Yes, Caroline saying she fell for the trap of clicking the button, and definitely clean up your computer. It happens all the time for sure with the free books. Right. Do you have thoughts about K-Lytics? I've used K-Lytics before. I've used them before. I didn't love it. It's not something I still use, mostly because I didn't feel like it was something that I valued for the time. I don't think it's a bad program. I didn't use it much. Most people I know have kind of tinkered around in it, thought it was cool, and then not used it anymore. So it's completely up to you. I know that there are people in the industry who really love K-Lytics. Yeah, and it's basically pulling data. That's what it is. It's just pulling data for ebooks. It's marketing intelligence, I guess, is what it is. Here's my thing with software and tools. I think software, AI, and tools for marketing, for comparisons and things like that, they can be great. They can be a great starting point. However, I think there's something to be said for personal research, for getting in there and knowing the market yourself, because AI will pull everything. And sometimes you got to filter through it to actually get good comps and to actually get good information. So it totally just depends on you. Yep. So I heard the idea that a cover designer is more like a package designer than an artist. And that's sometimes true, Caroline. I mean, they are packaging your entire book up, and don't forget, they're looking not just the art on the book, they are overlaying your text in most cases. They're helping you format the back and the spine. They're adding the words on there, which is really a special thing. It's not just creating a beautiful piece of art. It's creating a beautiful piece of art that lifts up your title and the purpose of the book cover, which is to get interest and to get that. And so a good cover artist is worth their weight in gold. Yeah, we don't want to pay their weight in gold, obviously, but they're worth it. And I think, like I said, if we can credit them, I think it's great. Or at least allow, in some cases, people don't even allow them to say that they created their book cover. So whenever I'm asked, I always encourage clients and things to let them promo that piece on their website and say that they did it. But again, that's all in contracts, and it depends on what you agree to with your cover designer. Yeah, circling back to the cover artist in Bowker and Ingram Spark, you have the option of adding contributors to the metadata. What are the pros and cons of doing this? So sometimes, absolutely, when you have contributors, sometimes you'll see people add their editor. Sometimes you'll see them add an illustrator, a cover designer, different things like that. And kind of the boon of doing that is if that person's name does have push in the industry, getting their name connected in the metadata to your book can help your book be seen more. And again, sometimes it's in your agreement. There are, in some cases, editors who will work at a lower cost if you mention their name and it's prominently on the book. Some of them simply won't work with you if you don't put them in the metadata. Totally depends. It also depends on that relationship. If it's an editor, are they truly just doing an edit, or are they pulling the book together and doing a lot more work and kind of co-writing it in a sense? Totally depends. So as far as putting it in there, number one, it's just a nice thing to do. Number two, if that person does have any acclaim, excuse me, in the industry, it can be a way to kind of get your book seen and searched even more. Yeah. Yep, same thing for the book designer or the interior format. Sometimes it helps. And also it allows other people to search them. It's just one of the ways that you can kind of lift them up. And looking for reviews for my children's picture book, who would you suggest? Pat, let me know either in the Q&A or in the chat, when you're talking about reviews, are you talking about professional third-party reviews, talking about blog reviews, or are you talking about reader reviews, or all three? Let me know and I'll answer that for you. I have a trilogy from 2012 to 2014 and I would like to recover it. Should I do one book or make 3 books? It is 3 books, but makes one big book at 174,000 words. Caroline, what genre is your trilogy in? Drop that in the chat or drop it in the Q&A and I'll have better advice. Let's see. And Pat's going back saying that she's talking about professional third party. So if you are looking for professional third party reviews, Pat, go on over to the New Shelves website, go to our store. In our store, we have a free download for a list of reviewers. All of these reviewers have free options. Yes, they also have some paid options. Ignore those. Go for the free options. For a children's picture book, I would specifically be looking at Library Journal and School Library Journal would be another one. I would be looking at The Horn. The Horn is another one that I would look at. For children's books, I would be looking at, thank you, Tara. Tara dropped it over in the chat box for the link. I would be looking at possibly doing, you can do Publishers Weekly. Most of the magazines, most of the third-party magazines do have a month where they kind of feature children's books. The problem is that children's picture books do get reviewed, but not as often as older fiction. Or I'm sorry, not fiction, just older books. They're fiction or nonfiction. But Book Life, again, is free. Now, if we're just talking about free ones, we've got Shelf Awareness, Forward, Kirkus. There's a whole range. So if you're doing it, why not pitch them all? It's free. Again, I'm not talking about the paid options. Many of them have paid options. Go for the free pitch and do that. If you are looking for a great blogging company that does reviews, that does a really good job. Look into, look, I just blanked. The children's, let's see, the children's book review. The children's book review, is that right? I'm gonna look it up so I don't I don't want to misrepresent them. There we go. The children's book review. This is a great company. The woman who runs this is fantastic, and they really specialize in children's books. A lot of the reviewers are parents, grandparents, and teachers, which I really appreciate for children's books. So if you were going to invest money into that kind of review with a blog tour and something that will get you out on the internet a little bit more, I would look at the children's book review. They really do a fantastic job for children's books. And then we're seeing Book Sirens, so that's good to know too. So Book Sirens is another one. I've never actually used Book Sirens, so I'm gonna have to check them out. I'm gonna type it on my computer so I don't forget. All right. All right. And Caroline, going back to your question about when you're revisiting your trilogy, should you make it 3 books or should you put it all together? It would be pretty hefty. It'd be over 100,000 words and it's middle grade. No, please do not put it into 1 book. I know people will say, well, Harry Potter is huge and it did fantastic. I love you. You're not J.K. Rowling. And she got really, really lucky after a really long time. When you're looking at middle grade fiction, it's better to stick with smaller, more digestible chapters, not only because it's less intimidating, but actually it's easier to market 3 books. I absolutely love marketing a series. And on the 3rd book is when the magic happens. I will refute this. Anyone who thinks that their book is for everyone, that is not true. Doesn't mean everyone can't read it. Your book has a genre. Your book has a target market. And if it doesn't, if I just go out and start throwing balls in my backyard and I don't have something to aim for, guess what I'm going to hit? A whole lot of nothing. I'm going to hit nothing. You have to have a target. You have to have that. And it's important to say, while your book may be enjoyed by everyone, it's really, really important to dig down, to be honest with yourself and target your specific market, to be honest about the reading level, to be honest with yourself. I mean, I'm just saying honest with yourself, because sometimes I think it's hard to say, well, everyone can read it. I love this. Everyone loves me. No, David, that's me. Come on. I love young adult fiction. I think I've said this before. In fact, it's Mother's Day this weekend, and I have a young adult fantasy fiction loaded on my Kindle, and my husband knows that come Mother's Day, I don't want to be bothered. I'm going to read my entire book. He may bring me coffee because he's just awesome like that, and he does that every morning. And so I'm a little beyond young adults for sure, that 13 to 18 or range. However, I love young adult fiction, but it's still young adult fiction. If it is middle grade fiction, let it be that, because if you target properly, that is when you'll get it. And honestly, if this book was not marketed as young adult fiction, I probably wouldn't be looking at it. If it was targeted as adult fantasy or something along those lines, I'd probably be like, oh, I don't want to be that mature today. I just kind of want to, have a quick read. So it's important that we allow our book to shine in its true genre. And if we're honest with ourselves, everybody won't love your book. It's literally impossible. I don't know if you've ever read reviews on some of the most famous books, but I was talking about this with a client yesterday. If you go to some of the most well-known, renowned books, go to Hemingway. A lot of his books have mixed reviews. I mean, there are people who hate it, people who love it, and that's because we are all different. And while you may hit a broad audience, everyone won't love your book. It's impossible to please everybody. But you can absolutely target your audience, and I think it's wise to do that. And if your book is in middle grade, stick to 3 books. Trying to do that for trying to put so many words for everybody is too much. And when you're looking at your audience, I love that Bob saying, if everyone likes your book, you did something wrong. Also, not only did you do something wrong, but you did something kind of miraculous. And so tell me your secret, because I don't know what it is. And as far as looking at your audience, I think that when you're looking at your audience and you're trying to decide what you fit into, there are some rules of thumb. They're not hard and fast, but what are the ages of your characters? Are they in middle grade or maybe high school? Are they 18? Are they in college? The age of your character can be a clue to who you're writing to. Also, go, I'm blanking out on what it is. There is a website that tells you what kind of grade level you're writing to. I'm waiting for Tara, my brain, to hop in here and tell me what I'm forgetting. But there's a website that will actually, you put in a sample of your writing and it tells you what grade level you're writing to. Let's see. Readability. I think that's it. Readability or readable. And it essentially, you put in a sample of your writing, not your whole book. And Pro Writing Aid does this as well. So readability, Pro Writing Aid, you put in a sample of your book and it tells you what grade level your book is in. Thanks, Tara. Readable.com/text. She makes me look so smart. I'm not, guys. But you put in your text and see what grade level you are actually writing to. And that can be a good kind of idea too, as well as look at the emotional age of your characters. Are your characters very young? Again, that ties into age, I think. So that's what I would start with looking for realistically for what age level you're writing to. Let's see. Look, I got very chatty. Now we have lots of questions. Yes. Denise, I saw that. It's on my list to answer this week. I ended up doing last weekend, I did a conference that was a couple of sessions. And then I got an exclusive interview with Hank Philippi Ryan, which was super fun. And we chatted for an hour, and we're putting that up on the blog with interview with Hank's writing advice. She actually had some great stories to tell about her journey as an author and how she kind of went from someone whose first manuscript was rough to now she just hit the USA Today bestseller again with The First to Lie. So this is her second book on the USA Today bestseller list. And she was kind enough to chat with me and to share some of her experiences and writing advice. So that's coming up. So needless to say, it was a very busy weekend that bled into this week. Let's see. Yes, Nancy, I saw your email. I saw that the first one maybe didn't go through. I did see your email though. I'll answer that in just a second. All right, I currently have a published short story. Can I move it over to Kindle Vella? Robert, to my understanding, the answer is no. Kindle Vella must be a original, never published story. So it must be brand new, has to be under 5,000 words. Excuse me. There's a whole list of things of what you can and can't do, but first and foremost, from my understanding, it must be never published in order to go up. It can't even be on Kindle Unlimited, which is exclusive to Amazon. It must be absolutely never published. And from what I've heard, Sandy Beckwith actually did a really great article on Build Book Buzz this week about Kindle Vella, where she kind of just took research and articles from several different places and highlighted them. But the overall feeling is that for Kindle Vella, the optimal writer or reader for this is going to be the younger people who are reading short serialized fiction on their phones. These are the people who are already on Wattpad and things like that. That is who you target. Typically, Kindle Vella seems like it's going to play well for people who do short serialized fiction, for people, let's say, aimed at people 30 to 15 or 15 to 30. I kind of went backwards. But if you have maybe even poems, I could see doing kind of well there. But if you have in-depth nonfiction, if you have a like kind of an idea for a novel that will end, maybe will not play as well. But it was a really great article. I see Tara, my right-hand lady, she's dropped it in there in the chat. It's just buildbookbuzz.com/Kindle-Vella. And it was a really great overview. I really appreciated that from Sandy Beckwith, who's awesome, by the way. You should follow Sandy. Let's see. What top blogs, podcast experts do you recommend authors follow to learn about the book publishing industry? Too many self-published authors knowing nothing about the industry. Yes, there are. I actually think that is, I just wrote a blog about that sometimes well-meaning people. I love that. David says new shelves. Yep, follow us, obviously, which you are if you're here, so thank you. But the other people I really love is Sandy Beckwith at Build Book Buzz. She's all about more of the PR kind of side of things, and I love that. Ingram Spark has a lot of great information, so they are great. Nest Graphica is one that I like because when you go there, Nest Graphica has really pulled in some of the top industry professionals and has them feature on his blog. And so he's a cover designer. The actual owner of the website's a cover designer, but he's really pulled in some great stuff. Joanna Penn is fantastic. Jane Friedman. Let's see, Bob saying Write Your Own. Screenplay by Jacob Kruger. Kindlepreneur is another great one. I really love Brian Cohen for Amazon ads and copy. Those are just a couple. And if you follow New Shelves, if you're on our newsletter list, New Shelves does send out a industry news newsletter every Tuesday. And this is just packed with industry news. It's articles by other people, other places that we really feel impact the industry that are important for you to know. We kind of, I'm on a lot of newsletters and I follow a lot of blogs because in the publishing industry, that's what we have to do. And so what we do for our newsletter is we curate that down to the articles every week that we think are most important for you to know and for you to read. And we put it out every Tuesday. So if you're not following the New Shelves newsletter, I encourage you to sign up because it's a great way to get a smattering of everything. Because we do look at things like from the ALLi, the American Library Association, we're looking at stats directly from them. We're looking at Publishers Weekly. We're looking at these blogs and kind of filtering out. And I will say, I don't agree with everything that even great people in the industry put out, but I guarantee they don't always agree with the things I say or advise either. And so sometimes there's just disagreements on how things are handled, but it's more important to see how these people overall handle the industry, what their advice is overall, and be wary of people. And I say this with New Shelves obviously has programs, we have services, and we sell things. It's what we do. That's how we stay in business and we work with clients, but be wary of people who are always trying to sell you a fast track to success. Success very rarely happens easily. It happens with work. I can't sell you a $99 program and guarantee that you'll make the New York Times. If I said that, I'd be lying. And it's not, because it's just not that simple. And it's important to have kind of a broad range and understanding. But again, be wary of people who promise you easy answers, because it's rarely easy. And also know that you do have to follow some, sure, there are standards that I would always recommend. Joanna Penn, Jane Friedman, Sandy, but also know that depending on your genre, if you have let's say Randy in poetry, I bet there are blogs out there that are specific to poetry that are fantastic that he needs to follow, that maybe Caroline, who does women's fiction, doesn't really need to follow. So I think it's important to have an open mind, see who speaks your language, and then sign up for there. But also, don't feel like you have to be overwhelmed with blogs and news and things like that. As far as big things, IBPA, as far as big organizations, IBPA and ALLi. ALLi is based out of the UK and of course was founded by Orna Ross. So those are big organizations that have great news and have excellent reputations as well that I highly recommend. Yeah, absolutely. I think we all have kind of agreed in the corner. But those were kind of my tops. And if you have great resources, if you've got great blogs or things that you love, I'd love to hear about them too, because like I said, we follow a lot of them. We tried to look at it and curate it down, and it's how we stay up to date in the industry and make sure that we're offering the best advice every Friday, not offering advice that was stale a year ago. We don't want to do that. Let me see. Oh, and there's another website for grading writing. So this is another one, and it's the Hemingway app. Thank you, Joan. Let's see. Yeah. All right. Do I have children's illustrators on my site? I believe we have one children's illustrator. Not too many. Most of the people that I've worked with, when I work with children's books, they tend to be done. People have already done, and I highly admire their illustrators, but I haven't worked with them personally in most cases. I've seen their books once they're done. We tend to work more with marketing a children's book rather than actually working on the illustration side. So I don't have too many that I've worked with personally and would recommend. However, there are groups and groups of these things and people and things, so. Oh, that's good. Tara's just reminding everybody that if you went to PubU with IBPA online, the presentations are about to expire, so make sure you finish those up. Yes, I love that. We'll start blogs and newsletter list on the Facebook group that we love, and so I'll get that up as well. I'm making lots of promises. I hope someone's writing these down for me. I'm kidding. I'll remember. Let me see. Yes. Where do I find the book size recommendations for different genres that we mentioned last week? That is right up on the New Shelves blog. And we update that every year. Right now, it is from fall 2020, and I will be updating that soon. And I'm asking so much of my poor computer here as I'm trying to pull it up. Trim sizes. Whoops. By the time I do this, someone else is already gonna have it up there, but I'm determined now. I will get to the trim sizes. And so the best trim sizes for your book, it's up on the New Shelves blog. It's already gonna be in there. I feel it, but I'm gonna get back to my Zoom. Let's see. Paste. There we go. So that is the link up there. Beat you, Tara. Sorry, that was gloating, but it was funny. All right. Let me see. So yes, check that out. And book sizes do change from time to time. They don't, I mean, we don't often see them change drastically all of a sudden. It's usually a slow shift or a shift for a reason. Gloating is always funny until it's not, because you're mean. I don't want to be mean. I don't know if you guys know this about me, but I'm super mean. So oh, Bobby, I hope everything went well. Replays of Free Advice Friday are always on our YouTube. We record on Friday for our session, and then we post it on every Monday. So if you go to youtube.com/New Shelves Books and you subscribe, you'll get notifications when they go up, and you can always watch those after the fact. I had someone tell me that's what she does while she's working out. I was simultaneously flattered that she bothers to listen to replays while working out, and also thinking, man, I need like really loud pumping music to keep me going. I'm not super motivated in the gym unless I've got loud music going on. I like a lot of heavy metal, believe it or not. Viking metal is actually the best. Let's see. A book list on mental health for bookshop.org, and we'll promote your book if it fits the bill. That's awesome. So Bob is crafting a book list on mental health for bookshop.org, and we'll promote your book if it fits the bill. So if you have a book that is on mental health you think would be great for this, just email him. It's in the chat. You can always reach out on our Facebook group as well. Let's see. Range Me. I have never, Range Me sounds familiar, but I don't have experience in that, Trina. If anyone else does and you want to pipe in, I would love to hear from you. But if no one else does, you know what I'll do? I'll research it and we'll answer it next week. But I've personally never used Range Me, but I will look into that for you. Let's see. All right. I'm going to go back. Nancy sent me an email yesterday. Maybe it was yesterday. The days are bleeding together. Nancy sent me an email question, so I'm going to pop on over and pull that up so that we can look at it. Here we go. Our questions from Nancy was all about our back cover, which I love. Let's see, getting down to it. What do you feel are the key elements for the back book cover? Some books show a photo and bio of the authors at the bottom. Other books just have copy with some sales promotion about what's in the book and then endorsements. So rule of thumb is nonfiction tends to get a photo of the author and a bio on the back of the book. The reason being is usually the person is selling the book more than the book selling the person. Meaning that if I have written a romance novel, no one really cares about my bio or where I went to college. They want to know if I know how to write steamy romance. And so that tends to not be on the back of the book. That's actually pretty dated for fiction, unless you are a celebrity, unless you've got some face recognition. Fiction typically does not have your photo on the back of the book. It goes not on the back book cover. It goes at the end of the book. So the end of the book, you would have your picture, a bio, and your contact links. I actually had an author who did not like this idea. I upset the cart when I said this to her. And later, after she, I just love her. She was like, oh, but I want my picture on the back of the book. And I was like, yeah, but that's 15 years too late. We need it in the back. You can still connect, just not on the back cover for your fiction book. And she kind of pushed back, and then she came back and she said, you know what? If you told me how to do my job, I'd be pretty darn upset, because you don't know how to do my job and I don't know how to do your job. So I'm going to listen to your advice. And later she did tell me that she really appreciated it, because when she was looking at other book covers and things, she saw that that was correct. So if you are doing fiction, not so much. Again, if you're nonfiction, if your name, if your expertise is part of what's selling the book, your photo and your bio, a very short bio going on the back of the book, is great. And of course, there's always exception, right? Like, there are exceptions for the exceptions, but just rule of thumb, as far as back cover copy, I think that it's really important to keep in mind that your back cover copy should be punchy. I don't want a whole synopsis of your book. I don't want to, like, if it's telling me, for example, I'm currently working with a book called The 48 Laws of Happiness. I don't want a full list of the 48 laws. I want to know what those laws will do for me. So having some type of call out, some headline that will get people's attention. Often, especially in fiction, we tend to see a headline, a tagline. There we go. And in nonfiction, things tend to lead in with questions. Are you feeling sad lately? Do you need a smile today? Well, then you need Bob Eckstein's book, because it will make you laugh hilariously as you roll on the floor. Obviously, that's horrible cover copy. Don't use that, Bob. But you get the idea of where you're asking a question so people can be like, yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. And then you can be the solution. And that's very common with nonfiction books. And so I'd think about doing something like that. And let's see, sorry, I lost my email. Too many tabs. All right, so back of the book cover. Yeah, a fancy haiku on the back of the book, only if it describes the entire book, Randy. Tall order, I know. So that's what I would consider on the back of the book. You also, of course, want a priced barcode for your paperback and hardcover. Let's see. And then endorsements. Yes, if you have some great endorsements, if you've got some great reviews, a couple of those on the back of the book can be the clincher. You will often see on the front of the book even a short excerpt or blurb of a review. That is because it's the name of the person. Again, it's not the review itself, it's the name or the credentials of the person giving the review or the endorsement. If that lends itself to social proof of the book, absolutely, you can stick those on the back of the book. And we see that a lot, especially with nonfiction. Fiction, we tend to see it worked into the cover a little bit more. And I think is certainly important. And also for nonfiction, don't be afraid to work in the credentials of the person writing it. You don't have to have a long bio. Weave those credentials into the actual book description. In this book, world-renowned psychologist, whatever their name is, teaches you blah, blah, blah. It's working those things in so it feels natural rather than here's a dry description, here's where I throw up all my knowledge about the person's bio, work it in and weave it in together. That's what makes a spectacular marketing copy and back cover copy, in my opinion. We know what they say about opinions. Everyone has one, but mine is right. That's what I tell my kids anyway, and then they laugh at me. Let's see. That one. I received my Ingram sale compensation report. This is the first month I've seen sales from ProQuest. Who or what is that? I've never heard of them. ProQuest is typically for libraries, David. They distribute and work with libraries quite often. So that's what I would guess that is from, which is awesome. That doesn't surprise me. I think your book actually lends itself really well to libraries. So. I just put my picture and short book bio on the back. Well, good job getting that done by yourself. I know sometimes doing your cover by yourself can be a struggle. Let's see. Do I work with authors? Absolutely. New Shelves, and therefore I work with authors on programs. If you're part of our mailing list, we do at times do mailings to libraries and bookstores. We do certain campaigns. And so I work with authors that way. And then I also do consulting directly with authors as well. Keri's team. That's hilarious. I actually do have a team. We have contractors. I have a part-time assistant and a full-time assistant that are they are the superpower behind what you see as the face of New Shelves. So absolutely, I do consulting. And if you're interested in consulting with me, either on a long-term project or you're like, hey, I just need a plan. I need someone to point me in the right direction because I feel like a dog chasing their tail and you just need a plan to get started rather than long-term consulting. I do that too. Just reach out to me, Keri, Keri @newshelves.com. And we can chat. We can see what it is. And I work with all budgets. I get asked that a lot. Book marketing can be expensive. I will not lie to you. It can be expensive, but it doesn't always have to be. It depends on what you need and what you're willing to put the work into. If we're creating a plan and giving you the infrastructure and then you're willing to go, hit the ground and start doing the things that I say need to be done with some direction and guidance, it's going to be a lot cheaper than if you go, I just want you to do it and here's me. I don't want to touch it because it takes less time. For me that way. And so that's a way that we can work together, but all budgets, don't let that keep you back. And it's always free to consult with me for the first 15 minutes. So I always like to say hi to you guys. Don't be shy. Oh, I love that. Thanks, Tara. Let's see. Now, KDP is now offering print services in Australia. I saw that too, Tara. The books we've published by Australian authors don't seem to do well on Amazon, but I'm told by those authors that they don't buy a lot from Amazon in the first place because it's expensive to ship. Do you think having the print services in Australia now will move the needle? Australia is a tricky one. I actually was working with an author in Australia recently, and our strategy was to actually move the ebooks a lot more. If you have a book that doesn't lend itself to ebook as much, I think that is a little more tricky for sure. I think that Australia is one of those places. It's more expensive in general. When we convert from the US dollar, it's more expensive. It is more expensive to ship. And do I think that having printing in Australia will make it a little more accessible and popular? Yes. However, I will also say that in Australia, the learned behavior has been not to order from Amazon. It's going to be expensive, or get the ebook. And so I think that will eventually start to move and shift, but I think it will take a while. People, if you think about it, I know where I do my grocery shopping, and even if a new fantastic store opened up, my gut instinct would still be, oh, well, I'm just going to go here because that's where I always go. So I think it'll take a while. I do think it will help in the long term. And I do think we'll see some shift to more sales in Australia for print books coming up, but it'll take a while. And I would still heavily market an ebook in Australia if it lends itself to an ebook. Oh, good. I'm so glad. Brad at Upper Level Hosting is awesome. Thank you, Caroline, for that recommendation. He actually sent me the nicest email saying that he appreciated us talking about him. So Brad at Upper Level Hosting is getting all sorts of rave reviews about his work for website work. So thank you for that feedback too. I always like to know when people connect. It's like It's like Match.com, but just for, you know, book services and author services. No big deal. Making matches every day. Let's see. Oh, you did the inside. Well, still, any type of formatting is superpower, in my opinion. Joni's asking, how does someone get considered by Amy Collins to represent them as an agent? The way that you get represented by Amy Collins is that you pitch her, and you pitch her through amysadvice.com. Please know she's working with Talcott Notch. She is not actively working with New Shelves. And actually, I've been running New Shelves for well over a year, closer to 2 years behind the scenes. So Amy, we chat every day. We're still great friends, but she is completely removed from New Shelves. She works with Talcott Notch. So you can go there. Right now, I believe she mostly is working with prescriptive how-to, adult fantasy fiction, and I believe some historical fiction are her main things. I know she's been pretty busy, but you can absolutely always reach out to her and email her there. Let's see. Yeah, I love Amy. She's the best, and she actually is making some lists for, you know, top agents breaking into the business, because she's been doing this for a long time, and she kills at it. So let's see. And also, I will say here publicly and loudly, Amy does not represent authors that are New Shelves clients. So that would be a conflict of interest. So please know that working with New Shelves will not get you in with Amy as an agent, and vice versa. If you work with Amy as an agent, it doesn't mean that you have to or will work with New Shelves. We are completely separate. We're actually working on separating that even more, because in the long term, it's not even a secret. It's a very open thing that Amy and I'll be taking over New Shelves officially in the next year or so. We're working out all those details. So absolutely separate. And that's important to know in the industry, that Amy is agent, New Shelves and I are New Shelves and I. We're separate in that way, although still the best of friends. Let's see. All right. And as far as the last, am I an agent? No, I'm not a literary agent. Thank you, Christine. Yes, I'm not a literary agent. So a literary agent is someone who agrees to work with an author to sell their book or pitch their book for sale to the publishing industry and to traditional publishers. That's not what New Shelves does. New Shelves helps self-publishing. Authors and indie authors self-publish. We do publishing consulting, and we do marketing. And we do help market self-published books, indie books, and traditional books. Just in the last week or so, I've worked with four authors from big houses, like top 5 houses, and we work with smaller publishers, and we run the gamut. But we are firmly in publishing, consulting, and book marketing. It would be a conflict of interest if I was also a literary agent, and so I'm not. So we've got that separation there. And also know that if your book is already out, if it's already self-published, an agent is, I had this question too. If your book is already out, or you have a series, let's say you've got books 1 and 2 of a series out, and the 3rd book is about to come out, and you start getting emails saying, we'd love to publish your series. It's probably a scam because publishers are not typically interested in picking up a series when it's already started. They don't want the 3rd book. They want to start with the 1st book. And unless you've got killer sales, and I'm talking tens of thousands of sales, they are very rarely going to pick up a book that's already been published and ask to republish it. They want fresh stuff. So if your book is already out, if it's already published, you don't need an agent. You need marketing. You need to write a new book to be considered for your next project. And I think that's fantastic. But just, I've seen people kind of get excited or try to hang their hat on getting a publishing deal for books that are already out, or for a third or fourth book in a series. And that's just not how traditional publishing typically works. Again, there are exceptions for exceptions, but typically that's not how it works. So know that. And thank you, Caroline. Yes, it's something we actually announced that I was taking over New Shelves last June, I think it was. It was something we kind of had said, and it's no secret, but we were actually in process. So very exciting. I mean, we knew. We've talked about this for years. For Amy and I, we're like, oh, we didn't tell you? Yeah, we've been working towards this for 2 years. So old news to us, but I always forget that we haven't publicly announced. So let's see. And any campaigns coming up? I am toying around with the idea of possibly doing a mailing to our bookstore and library buyers about holiday books. We're talking your children's books that fall for Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, even books that are kind of New Year, New You. All of those books for bookstores especially need to be pitched like now. They need to be pitched in the summer for Christmas time and for Christmas sales. And so I believe in the next couple of weeks, again, if you're on our newsletter list in the next couple of weeks, we'll be sending out some information about how if you have a book that really lends itself to holiday sales, to holiday themes or New Year, New You themes, we will be doing a mailing soon. So keep your eyes out for that if your books are in that genre. And again, if it's not, and you still want to chat and see what you can be or should be working on or how we can work together, just email me. I'm totally here. And like I said, 15-minute consults are free when we first get started. And it's always fun to chat with you guys after seeing you online. And you guys, you poor people sitting there listening to me every Friday for an hour drone on. So you can talk back to me, and I love it. Yes, yes, yes. All right, guys. I think we answered everything. I'm going to repeat what I'm supposed to do so I can follow up. I'm going to go over to the Facebook group and I will start one thread that is all about our designers that we love. Our cover designers, our interior designers are welcome as well. And we'll put those in there so we can drop in names and links. And then I will also start another thread that is all about the industry news and newsletters and podcasts that we love, so we can drop those in there so that we can all kind of share and grow and learn together, because that's what this is all about. Love being here, you guys. For all of you moms out there, I hope that you have a fantastic Mother's Day. I hope that you get to do whatever it is you like. I read a meme that I thought was hilarious. It was, Dad's Father's Day. Let's do something together. Let's rent a boat. We can spend the whole day together. And then moms for Mother's Day are like, I want you to stay away from me, to not touch me, maybe not talk to me. And that's kind of me. I actually just want the morning like that. We can have the best time, play games at night, but the morning I want my coffee and I want my guilty pleasure young adult fiction book. So I hope that whatever your thing that you want for Mother's Day happens, and happy Mother's Day to all of you mothers. I think it's great. And I will post the link right before we run off. I'll post the link to the Free Advice Friday in here on Facebook. If you just search Free Advice Fridays for authors and publishers, that's the group. You just ask to join, and you can also use that link right there. So join us there. We'll get started. Happy Mother's Day. And for all you single dads out there who are doing the job of a mom and a dad, kudos to you as well. I hope that you have a special day, and we will talk to you next week. Bye.